Welcome back here to X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network. Danny Cahalan, Ryan Elke, Anthony Bellino, all joining you. Dan, are we good to go over there on the phone line?
We are.
Oh, the pride of Clarkston, a Michigan alum, an NBA veteran. You see him all the time on your television sets on Bally Sports Detroit, covering the Detroit Pistons, our good friend, Tim McCormick. Tim, my friend, good morning to you, partner. How are you? How's life? How are things?
Everything is fantastic. Just battling some snow. Here in West Bloomfield, Michigan, we had about 8.5, 9 inches, and we haven't had enough snow this year. I like snow, so I'm good today.
Okay, that's a little bit of a winter wonderland. Of course, for our listeners, you can find Tim on Twitter at Tim McCormick40. Tim, I want to let's go to the center circle, and we'll go for tip-off right now. I'll throw it up, and you can tip it either direction you'd like to. Do you want to start with the Michigan Wolverines or the Detroit Pistons?
I don't want to talk Pistons. I want to talk Michigan. That's
all right,
an easy call.
We'll go with that then. A big-time challenge for them this evening, 9 o'clock inside Chrysler Center to host number 1 Purdue. Why we had to schedule this game at 9 o'clock, I'm not sure, but I know myself and my coworkers are not pleased about that, but it is what it is. We'll be there. Last time they played Purdue, we had a little bit of a celebration on the court. That was fun. Kids ran out there. Hunter Dickinson did his interview post-game. It was all fine and dandy. This is a little bit different of a Purdue team and a much different Michigan team. Tim, what is Michigan's biggest issue right now?
That Jet Howard is hurt. I would feel a lot better about Michigan's chances if he was healthy. Hunter Dickinson is going to play really well. He's an excellent player. I think that Zach Edey will struggle to match up with Hunter moving all over the court, but you need a reliable second scorer. You actually need a reliable third scorer, and Michigan doesn't have that either. But if I had to point out one thing that really concerns and frustrates me is that Michigan is not good in their on-ball defense. Containing, contesting, keeping guys out of the paint. And we saw it early on. Part of the problem is they have young players. The other part of the problem is that they don't have great one-on-one defenders. So that's my big issue, is keeping the opponents out of the paint.
You know, this is a very interesting team. I think one of the early struggles here is that, you know, after Xavier Simpson left and Eli Brooks was in his 5th year, there was, Mike Smith was in the picture. And then they went to Devontae Jones. They went back to the portal to find Jalen Llewellyn as Frankie Collins was on his way out. Doug McDaniel was on his way in. And it feels to me like that's a dangerous game to play if you're going to go into the portal for a point guard. I feel like they got to have that guy, and maybe it's Doug moving forward, which would be great. But they have to be able to find a point guard that's going to be in this program and develop one and then get that pipeline, growing with, as Doug becomes a sophomore, an incoming freshman, and as Doug is a junior, another incoming freshman, so that they have some depth there at the point guard experience, that point guard position that actually has some experience playing at this level.
Well, I remember talking to Jim Calhoun before a UConn broadcast many years ago, and he said one of the keys to his success was he always has 3 point guards on his team that he feels comfortable in, that could play some combo guard if you need, if somebody gets hurt or gets in foul trouble. The point guard position is so important, and Michigan has been patching holes for most of Juwan Howard's career coaching at Michigan. And I think that if Frankie Collins would have stayed, I think that would have really helped a great deal. And when he left, though, I just thought, gosh, Michigan has no depth in the backcourt. And if Jalen or Doug or Kobe gets hurt, Michigan is in big trouble, and they are right now. I would love to see a couple of point guards that Juwan Howard recruits and keeps in the stable and develops. Because the truth is, as much as I'm impressed with Doug, I think he's had a really good year. He scored over 10 points a game in his last 5. That's phenomenal for a freshman. But as an example, if he was on Michigan State, he's probably their 3rd or 4th point guard right now instead of a guy that played 38 minutes in their last contest. That's a challenge.
It's a big time challenge, and Doug has been. I thought that with if Jalen Llewellyn was going to be the starter, and Doug would be able to be that kind of change of pace guy, that sort of like Frankie Collins was. He was going to go 100 miles an hour at the bucket. You weren't really sure what was going to happen, but it was going to be a whole lot different than what the starter was going to bring. And ever since Jalen got hurt, it seems like Doug has done a lot better in that true point guard, floor general, trying to run the offense, get guys in their spots, and he'll still take it to the rack and take his shot when he sees it. But I think he's done a really good job, considering this truly is baptism by fire for a young guy trying to play at the Big Ten level as a freshman coming in, that we didn't really have expectations of him being that starter. You mentioned Hunter Dickinson. One guy I've been really impressed with that I gotta get your take on. I love Terrace Reed Jr. He's a little raw with the ball in his hands, but my goodness, that guy steals extra possessions. He's relentless on the boards. He can block shots. He can throw it down with the best of them. He's mean. He's nasty. His nickname is Big Hoss, according to his Twitter. I love that guy.
I do too, and he's so much better than I anticipated. And I think against Purdue, it's probably going to be a scenario where you're going to see a bigger lineup with Will Cheddar or Terrace Reed playing with Hunter a lot. He does play hard, and he's physical, and he's tough. He's smart. Got to work on his free throws. I think his hands are okay and can improve catching the ball. He's the kind of guy, though, that you want to bring in and you want to develop over time. Hunter Dickinson has gotten better every year he's been in the program. I can see Terrace Reed stepping in if Hunter leaves after this year, and Terrace one day being an all Big Ten caliber center.
I would agree. I mean, I love his game. I really do. And he brings a certain level of attitude there, a little bit of toughness that I think that they desperately need, as well. Terrence Williams, I don't know what happened to him. I'm not really sure. I don't know if, like, his freshman year, he just caught us all by surprise, but I don't know exactly where he fits on the offensive side of this team.
I agree with that. I don't think he has had a good junior year, and part of it may be the fact that playing as the four-man with Hunter is not easy. Brandon Johns struggled with it as well. Moussa Diabate struggled with playing that four position, and part of the reason is that Hunter is so dominant, and they want to run the offense through him because he's a very good passer, but he's always on that left block. And the other team's best big man is sitting right in the middle of the paint. You really would benefit from a four-man that could reliably knock down perimeter jump shots. Michigan has not had that, and I think it would help them a great deal.
I was really high on Joey Baker. Being able to transfer in from Duke, I thought that was going to be the addition. That now here's a guy that's he's gonna just be a shooter, right? He's gonna be like the Bojan Bogdanovic of this team. He's just gonna stand out there and knock down shots as Hunter takes a double team, and it's gonna be electric. That hasn't necessarily happened just yet. I wouldn't say I'm disappointed with the way that Joey Baker's played, but I just think this team as a whole is really struggling to find, outside of Hunter knowing his exact role and Doug knowing his exact role, it really does feel like almost there's an identity crisis for this team.
Yes, with Joey, I found it interesting in the Minnesota game that it's almost like he's trying to become a driver and finisher. Scouting reports are really deep in the Big Ten, and they are not letting him get his feet set and get those threes. I still think that's the strength of his game, but it's almost as if he's lost a little confidence. 1 out of 6 from the field against Minnesota. He shot an air ball on his most open shot, which surprised me, and also tells me maybe he's lost his confidence a bit. They really are going to need him if Jet Howard's going to be out for a while.
Yeah, they need somebody to shoot it from the perimeter, that's for sure. Michigan, although it does sound kind of doom and gloom right now, They are 5-3 in the conference. Now they haven't played a lot of the heavyweights, and they're going to get in there. Like they did lose to Iowa. That was a tough game. You felt like when that game got to overtime, you could just see it. They were just deflated, lost all their confidence. You lose on the road to Michigan State, but you got this game against Purdue coming up. Ohio State's right around the corner, a sneaky good Northwestern team. They sit tied for third in the Big Ten, but they're 11-8 overall, and most bracketologists have Michigan on the outside looking in for the NCAA tournament. If they don't make the tournament this year, how do you quantify what this 2022-2023 season was?
Disappointing, especially after 5 straight years of playing in the Sweet 16. Michigan is going to need a miraculous finish to this season. They've got to get their guys that are hurt healthy, and they need to keep the rest of the guys healthy. So I have concerns, but that's the thing I like so much about sports is that you're just never really sure. And you watch players develop, take on roles that you didn't expect them to have. So it's going to be fun.
The Big Ten this year as a whole has been very, very interesting because going back to the bracketologists, they have, somewhere between 8 and 10 teams from the conference getting into the big dance this year, but we only have one team in the top 25, and that's the number one team in the nation, Purdue. What's going on with the conference as a whole?
I think that the transfer portal has made a big difference. Players that don't play, they don't stay and try to develop over time. Instead, they just leave for what appears to be greener pastures. I also think that a big concern is that you'd like to be able to have guys stay and develop over time. You have a lot of players that have come into the Big Ten, and so chemistry is not going to be quite as good. Like Illinois probably had the best transfer portal year, but I just don't think that their players have fit the system.
Yeah, it is a very, very interesting how the world of college sports, the landscape has been changing. It's changing so rapidly, and as you mentioned, chemistry and consistency, and I think that that's one thing for Michigan as well. I mean, folks got to remember, you mentioned Moussa Diabate, Caleb Houston. I mean, this team, this organization has seen a lot of guys go on to play at the next level, whether it's at the G League or at the association level. They've been kind of a little bit of a turnstile, so it's tough to really find that chemistry and that glue there on a year-to-year basis when you look at Hunter Dickinson being like the only guy playing significant minutes, coming back, and maybe a guy like Terrence Williams as well, coming back into the fold for this upcoming season. It's difficult to get used to these new guys around you all the time.
No, there's so many intangibles that teams need for success, and chemistry is one of them. And some guys they're going to schools because of NIL money. Other teams just want a chance to play and get a lot of gear from a big time program. It's such a strange time in basketball. We're making transition, and I think that's going to be one of the things that's going to be fun to watch over time.
Is Kobe Buffkin like our must have a big impact tonight kind of guy in order for this team to win?
Without question, and I like Kobe Buffkin. I think he's capable of more, and so I'm watching really closely. He's got to be that number 2 scorer.
That's a lot of responsibility, a lot of weight on his shoulders. He can shoot it, that much is for sure. He's been pretty good too, putting the ball on the floor and then being able to kind of get to his spot for that pull-up jumper and get to the bucket as well. I hope he has a big game tonight because it's a big game against Purdue. Gut feeling, does Michigan win this game this evening?
No. If you tell me that Jet Howard plays and plays well, I'd say they've got a good chance. If not, I don't see it.
Oh man, Tim! Oh my goodness, my heart's breaking, but I understand. That's the realistic. That's the realism of the program. One more question for you. On the other side, I got to tip the ball the other side of the floor. Will the Pistons play any defense this season?
I don't anticipate that. Young guys just don't defend very well, and that's a concern for sure. And when I look at their lack of defense, it's kind of the same thing that the Pistons are going through, that the Michigan team's going through. You have to get in a stance. You've got to be able to contain, contest, communicate, And if you do those things, you can be decent. I just think that the Pistons have struggled more than I expected on defense. And it worries me because I'm not sure if all of a sudden you go from being a bad team defensively one year to being really good the next. So that's going to be the challenge for sure.
Tim McCormick, I think we just came up with something. For all the folks that are listening right now that might be involved in youth basketball, we just found Tim McCormick's 3 C's of D: contain, contest, communicate. I think we got to put that on a shirt, Tim, with your face on it or something. I love that right now. He is Tim McCormick. You can find him on Bally Sports Detroit, covering the Detroit Pistons. You can find him on Twitter at Tim McCormick 40. Studio audience, they love the guy. We love you, Tim. Thank you so much for your time today, partner. We greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. It was good to talk with you, and thank you very much.
The Tim McCormick 3 C's of D. If you are a youth coach, if you're involved at the youth level in any way and you didn't find that little nugget right there and write that down, I'll say it one more time. Contain, contest, communicate. The three C's of D. Like, that's what it is. Obviously getting a stance and all that other stuff. But, I mean, fundamentally, that's what it is. We spend so much time at the youth level trying to develop good form in a shot, right? Trying to convince the kids, get rid of that three-point line. You don't need it. Until we shoot 90% from 3 feet, we don't need to shoot anything from 30 feet. You guys are nuts, right? That's the way the game is trending. You gotta reel it back in here. I love that. You're getting in your shell drill. That's exactly what should be happening right there. Contain, contest, communicate. Getting good help side. Teach good defensive habits early, right? It's not all about little Timmy out there. Not Tim McCormick. He's not little about him. He's like 6'10". But little Billy's out there. It doesn't matter if little Billy scores 12 points in his 5th grade game. That's not what's important, right? And I know that in our culture, in our society, I'm going to play this great clip for you tomorrow morning from Austin Rivers. We are so obsessed. Do you know how many times I saw, I even did our college basketball report this week on the Imani Bates thing. Because do you have any idea? Like, that took over Twitter. It was all over ESPN. ESPN tweeted out LeBron James's response to Imani. They didn't win the game. It's more than just scoring the basketball. It's more than just shooting. You have to do more to play good basketball. And all of this is getting lost in our society that's so highlight driven. I got to score, got to score, got to score. You going to defend? You going to block out? You going to hit the floor for a loose ball? You going to talk on defense? Are you willing to make the extra pass to pass up a good shot to get a great shot? Those are the concepts you got to teach and hammer home at the youth level, because they're going to take that to the next level, and they're going to love it.